2020 was also supposed to be our plan of service year, where we did all of our community engagement, and we had plans to be out in the community and to visit 4 different locations, as well as meeting people on the streets and having conversations with them, and that couldn't happen. So we quickly shifted to an online model, and we had 4 sessions that had a variety of people, from very young parents to an elderly woman who had not left her house in 2 months by the time we'd had this engagement session. What we concluded from all of these sessions was that everybody just wants to be together. We want to be in the library. We want to work together in person to learn new skills and to discuss ideas. We came out of that process with 4 service responses. First one was GP Connects, so Grande Prairie Connects, Grande Prairie Explores, and Grande Prairie Public Library Cares. This is a very pandemic-influenced service or plan of service. We also have a new mission statement, which is Daring to Transform Lives, a new vision statement, Endless Possibilities, and new values, inclusion, innovation, and intellectual freedom. When we reopened in July, we did so very cautiously with an express branch, which we set up in our Rotary Community Room. We decided that that was so human resources intensive that we were incredibly happy to open the full library, even at just 15% capacity. During our second lockdown, we immediately shifted to curbside, and the uptake on that was immediate and strong. We had over 200 people per day accessing curbside delivery and up to 700 items per day being borrowed. We are so happy to be open again as of March 8th. And on our very first day that we were open, we had 431 people visit us. And it's averaging about 350 people a day. So despite our challenges, in the first lockdown, we had 5,655 people use curbside. And it's increasing again, as I said, considerably in 2021's lockdown. In 2020, we circulated almost 300,000 physical items, which is about our entire collection 3 times. Our e-resources were borrowed over 70,000 times, and our Wi-Fi was used over 18,000 times, despite the fact that we were asked by city staff to close it down after hours. More than 13,000 people had library memberships, which is almost as many as Strathcona County's population has. And we launched a really exciting program where we loan Chromebooks and wireless hotspots to people so they can search for work, stay connected to family and other people, and access entertainment. So throughout all of this, we had tremendous feedback from the public, lots of thank yous, lots of shout outs for being there. And I'm just going to read one, and then I know my 5 minutes is probably long since up. It says, "I cannot express how grateful I am to be able to get books and movies from the library at no cost. Staff are amazing, polite, friendly, and helpful. Grande Prairie is so fortunate to have you. Special kudos to the curbside staff. Even at 40 below, you brought materials all out to our cars. All done with a smile. You rock, and thank you." That's it for me. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for your work, and thank you for coming in to share with us today. Really appreciate it. I'll just look around and see if there's any questions for Ms. Kreiderman. I know one question I've got is, I know a challenge with libraries in the past has been the cost publishers charge every time an electronic book is accessed. Has there been a big increase in electronic access? And if so, what's that doing to your budget? And what are the long-term thoughts if people are more used to that for now?
Well, there is a group in Canada who is working on that. There's something called the Canadian Urban Libraries Council, so CULC. There we go. It's called CULC. And they're working on that. They're working with publishers to try and get some more equitable prices for our electronic resources. Electronic resource access went up by something like 23% last year, so a considerable amount. What we did last year, because people weren't accessing our physical collection as much as normal, like 300,000 items is a lot. That's our collection 3 times, but it's not as much as we normally do. So we were able to shift some of that budget that we had for physical items into e-resources. So those resources are going to stay there for a while. it depends on the publisher, but we get up to 21 uses with some publishers before that item is considered weeded from our collection. And that's comparable to physical items, but you're correct. Those items do cost a lot more, and there's a lot of work to be done. Just the cost of doing business is going up all the time.
Yep. Great, thank you. Any other questions? The one thing I'll just add for committee is the Grande Prairie Public Library's TikTok is well worth following. I think it's my favorite local TikTok account.
It's been so much fun.
Yeah, your TikTok is fun. Well, anyways, thank you again for your work, and thanks for presenting to us. Really appreciate it. I appreciate the time. Thank you so much. Great, thank you. And then next up, we've got a delegation from the Bear Creek Folk Fest. I'm assuming that's Miss Card, but I haven't actually looked at the delegation list. Yes, Miss Card. Hello, Miss Card. How are you doing today?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. So you are well acquainted here, but if you just introduce yourself and you get your 5 minutes, and then we'll get a chance to ask any questions we might have.
Okay, well, thanks so much for having me. I'm, as a lot of you know, Sarah Card. I'm the producer of the Bear Creek Folk Fest right here in Grande Prairie. And I wanted to come and give you a quick update on the festival, as well as discuss how what we're doing right now affects the funding grant agreement that we have with the city. So as a number of you might be aware, we made the really difficult decision last night to post and announce that we are postponing, due to COVID, we're postponing the 5th Bear Creek Folk Fest to August of 2022. This was a much harder decision than it was last time when we postponed our original event, especially in light of how well things are doing on the vaccine front. But we still feel very strongly that this was really the only safe and responsible decision that we could make. Most importantly, as a large-scale international event that brings together thousands of people from so many different regions, both around Western Canada and around the world, there's just simply too many risk factors to have full certitude of it being safe. And as far as we're concerned, if it's not 100% safe, it's not safe. So we could not, in good conscience, proceed with even a slight risk of either introducing a new variant to Grande Prairie or creating some kind of super spreader, or even, you know, any sort of worsened health situation in our region. Also, quite honestly, the financial risk to the festival would have been too great. Because as it stands, we can take all the money that we spent on our original 2020 event, and we can just transfer it to 2022. It's not going to actually cost us anything to do that. However, if we proceeded with a commitment to present an event this year, and then all of a sudden something happened a few weeks before the festival and we had to pull the emergency brake, we would lose a lot of money and very likely risk the festival folding altogether. So it just really doesn't seem worth the risk. So based on this, all of this, I am here today to ask the city to request an extension on our funding agreement for that $75,000 tourism event grant we had received, and allow us to put it towards the 2022 festival that we're planning. At the moment, we're still retaining all of the artists, or most of them anyway, that we had originally booked. All of the artist deposits that we made are still intact. And like I said, none of that money, as it stands, is going to be lost. It's just all going to be transferred to our next festival. And it will still be branded as our 5th annual, our 5th Bear Creek Folk Fest, which is the event that we had applied for the money to present. So that's why I'm here today, but just also as a fun aside, and just a little update, although we are not able to present our festival this summer as we had really hoped, we also know the importance of community, mental health, and celebrating getting back to normal after a very trying year. And we're very optimistic that things will be quite good by August. So we are actively planning a scalable, extremely local event to bring something special to Grande Prairie with a focus on highlighting the great talent in our area, but to be organized in such a way that we can adapt it to the changing health situation in our area without taking any risks, either health or financial. So more details about that will be coming out as the health guidelines become clear, but our intention with this event is to just bring some community spirit that everyone's been missing, hopefully make it very, very accessible to Grande Prairie residents, both by making it a hybrid event that is both available online and to whatever extent is possible live. It's my hope to also make it very accessible and affordable to Grande Prairie residents by making it an entry by optional donation. So it's going to be an entirely different event. It's not our festival, but we do still plan on bringing something special to the region this summer, health situation allowing. So that's the general update. Yeah, I would definitely welcome any questions, but my big message, I guess, is that we really value this support we've received from the city. It's so invaluable to the fact that we're still able to present this festival, that we've made it through these first few really hard years, and this. We have built a really special festival that we're going to be putting together next year. So we hope very much that we can, basically move everything over and keep it intact by keeping our funding intact as well.
Great. Well, thank you for coming in today and giving us what is certainly a disappointing, but I don't think a surprising update. So we appreciate you keeping us in the loop. Just for committee, we do have a request that Ms. Card's made. I think what I'd ask is let's ask any questions we might have, and then Ms. Card will ask you to kind of turn off your camera to leave the table. And let's save any debate we might have until that time. So let's ask any questions we've got, but save debate for a little bit if that's all right with committee. So I will look around and ask, are there any questions? Councillor O'Toole.
Yes, I was wondering if the check that you received was cashed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we not only cashed it, we spent a bunch of it on artist deposits, which, because at the time we were planning a festival for 2020. So we made a bunch of artist deposits. Those artist deposits remain intact, and those artists still plan on coming and performing at our next festival.
Can't hear you, sorry, Councillor Bressie.
Oh, sorry, Mayor Clayton.
I couldn't hear Councillor O'Toole's question. I'm assuming it was if you spent the money or not.
His question was, had we cashed the check?
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Great. And then just make sure that I'm 100% sure I'm understanding what's going on with finances. So the money is spent, but it's not gone because the festival's delayed or canceled. It is money that if we allowed the festival to keep it, it would still, all the money we gave would still be used just for the 2022 year.
That's correct. Correct. Everybody's been really amazing about, we're all in the same boat, right? So people have been really good about allowing us to just transfer it over. In many cases, artists wouldn't have felt safe coming here anyway, or it wouldn't have been allowed. So it's basically everything, our original plan from 2020 has remained intact. We've been really lucky and haven't actually lost any of the funds that were spent. It's all still going to remain valid for what will still be the fifth festival, just be presented 2 years later than planned.
Great, thank you. Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Bressie. Thanks for coming today, Ms. Card. Yeah, very disappointing news for sure. I know a lot of people were looking forward to your event being the first event that people could get back outside and enjoy together. And August of this year. My question is in regards to the money that you've already received. Was the money sent to the artists or to agencies? And the reason for that question is, if an artist decides to retire in the meantime, is there any opportunity of getting that artist deposit back? What's the insurance on that?
Well, for the most part, it was done through agencies. You know, I mean, there's never a zero risk in any situation, but we have no indication that we're going to have any problems of that nature. These artists are extremely, you know, eager to get the rest of their money. I mean, we give a deposit, but artists are hurting to get back to work. So they're looking forward as much to coming and playing the gig and cashing in on the rest of their payment as we are looking forward to having them.
Thank you.
One more, I'm not seeing anybody else raising their hand. So one more question I've got is, what would actually happen if the city said, hey, sorry, we're not extending the funds the next year. We'd like our money back. What would that actually mean? We'd
have a serious, I mean, it would cause quite a bit of difficulty on our end because, I mean, we'd have a lot of egg in our face having to sort of suddenly change agreements. It would take us quite a bit of time to pull the money back. It may damage some relations, or at least it might make it difficult to present the event that we've planned because, you know, we're currently in the process of, you know, even though now we're a year and a half out, we're sort of considering now a time where we're sort of full steam ahead to plan a really amazing event for 2022. So it would cause quite a lot of difficulty for us, for sure.
Great, thank you. Is there any other questions for Ms. Card? Great. Well, then, Ms. Card, what I'll ask is, again, I'll ask you to turn off your camera, and it would be, if we were in committee chambers, it'd be like you're standing up from the table and going into the gallery, and then we'll figure out what to do with this. But okay. Thank you for being in today. Thank you for sharing this, and thank you for all the work you're putting in on behalf of our community for this event.
Well, thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for all the support you've given the festival. It really, you know, I can't tell you how much it means. So, thanks.
Thank you. So then I'll look to committee and see if there's anybody that would like to make any motions or do anything with this request we've had. Councillor Palat.
Thanks, Chair Bressie. Just, I guess, a question for administration. If we make this motion today just to say that the funding has been allocated and gone, I guess I just want to ensure there's no impacts on that, and then if there's any concerns about that moving forward from administration.
Sure, Mr. Miller.
Thanks, Chair Bressie. No, there isn't any impact for us. I think what we would do is just amend the funding agreement to move it to 2022.
Okay, so a little bit, that's what I'm a little bit confused on. Maybe is we'd amend it to 2022, but they've actually cast the check in 21, if I'm understanding right. So would we just act like this event happened? I'm just kind of curious to what the process would be, because they've kind of already cashed it. So would we just act like the event was going on and we're okay with that, or?
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit more, and then Katie's online here as well. But so my understanding is then they would not qualify for any funding request for 2022. So we'll just anticipate the 21 moves to 2022, even though they've spent some of the money already. But we wouldn't entertain, or we wouldn't recommend any additional funds for 2022 from council.
Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah, and Ms. Bieberdorf, you got something to add, please?
Yeah, I'll just add, the way it's worded in the current funding agreement is that the funds will be utilized for the 5th festival, which is where the money is going towards. So we just have to extend the existing funding agreement for it to be used towards the 5th version of the festival. So they wouldn't be eligible in 2022 for any funding.
One more question I've got for administration is, I'd assume that if committee wants to do something with this, this would actually be in council's authority to do. So committee would be making a recommendation to council if committee wants to do something. Mr. Miller? Thanks,
Chair Bressie. I think that would be appropriate to do it that way. I think it's more or less an administrative process, but it'd be good to have the motion from council.
So then I'll look to committee and see if there's any further questions or if anybody's willing to make a motion of some sort. Councillor Plott.
Thanks, Chair Bressie. I just make a motion that, just trying to the wording, that committee, does this need to go through council? I'm just looking for clarification on that. So
yeah,
committee direct council to approve the funding for Bear Creek Folk Festival and then make necessary amendments.
And if you're okay with just a slight massaging of that, I think the better word would probably be recommend council rather than direct council.
Okay, recommend, sorry. Yep, that makes sense.
Great. Is there anybody that would like to speak to that motion? Just speak to it personally, I think it is unfortunate that we weren't able to have a festival last year and we won't this year. But the thing I will add is that the Unfestival last year actually was a really great event that showed off some local talent and a lot of local people really enjoyed it. And I think that I'm really confident that whatever they put on this year will be great for the community too. So it actually is kind of nice in some ways that our money is going a lot farther in terms of we are getting too many events that we hadn't funded out of it. And so I wish that we would have had it last year, wish we were having it this year, but our money is going a little bit further than we originally anticipated is something I'll highlight to committee.
Yeah, no, fair points.
Great. I don't see any other conversation or debate, so I will call that motion to question. Oh, sorry, Mayor Clayton, were you trying to get in on the, all right. So it is on your iPads.
Chair Bressie, it's not popping up for me to vote, but I'm voting in favor.
Okay. Oh. And that motion carries unanimously. Great. Any other business with this? In that case, I will move on to item 3.1, Director's Area Report.
All right. Thanks, Chair Bressie. So I'll start off with the Community Knowledge Campus. So with the ease of restrictions in Step 2, the new program offerings are at 91% booked for the Fieldhouse bookings, which is up from 83% from the previous week. And the aquatic registered programs and swimming lessons are 100% booked, so lots of interest in coming back. And then with the March 15th added amenities, I just wanted to let you know what the hours of operation are. So Monday to Friday, it's 5:30 a.m. until 8:30 p.m. and we're remaining closed from 1 to 4 in the afternoon just because of the low demand during those hours. And the following must be pre-booked via Perfect Mind as well. So single visits to the fitness center and the track. And we're also offering the Toonie track Monday to Friday from 8:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. And just the rates for the members. So they have the option of unfreezing their existing memberships now, or they can use the revised 1-month spring membership pricing at the following rates. So adults are $50 a month, seniors are $37 a month, students are $35 a month, youth are $33, or a single visit is $5. And then with the events and entertainment, the RFP for the main concession design has been awarded to Field Levers Architecture. And just a note about the ice carving partnership at the Art Gallery, there was over 54,000 views on the Facebook live stream over the 2-day period. And the Storm are hosting their first hockey games this weekend, so the action is, you can catch it on hockeytv.com as well, since there is no fans in attendance allowed. And then with facilities, they're assisting Energy and Environment with the Facility Energy Scans project. They're also reviewing and preparing for the spring startup tasks, and that's for the outdoor pool, the spray parks as well. And they're also reviewing the neighborhood entrance feature repairs and renewals just to see what has to be done in that regard. For fleet and transit, it's pretty much business as usual. The ridership hasn't really changed on with transit. And then sports development, wellness and culture, just some statistics I wanted to share. So last year, from February until December of 2020, we had 33,497 people registered for drop-in programs, events, or camps through the online customer portal in Perfect Mind. That was about 47% of all registrations for the services, and that did not include swimming lessons or regular programming due to COVID-19 restrictions. And then the Activity Reception Center Engagement Survey was open from February 17th until March 3rd. We had 106 people complete the survey, and then our plan is to bring more information to a future committee meeting. And then we're also continuing to work on expanding the food truck parking on the city property. And they've identified 3 new locations for the upcoming seasons. That's Lions Park, Orange Park, and also South Bear Creek Dog Park area. And they are also doing an annual inspection program of the food trucks, which is April 6th until the 8th. And then applications for operating in the city is available shortly after. And then community group funding applications are now available for 2022. I think it's been in the media as well, so we're encouraging folks or groups to apply, and then we'll go through the usual process there. And then just a note about the second Neighborhood Association Forum was held last week with presentations from Energy Management and Environmental Services, as well as the Mobile Outreach Program. And just the feedback we're hearing from the residents or for the participants is they really appreciate the time with council. And if I could just ask for a little bit of feedback from council as well, if you think we're hitting the mark with the forums, and or if there's something that you'd like SDWC to change to do it in a different manner. But just looking for any comments from council or from committee.
Mayor Clayton, then Councillor Plott, and then Councillor Thiessen.
Thanks, Chair Bressy. Director Miller, I thought that the process and the departments that were on the call provided very thorough information that was very applicable to the neighborhoods and information that people were probably curious about, and so therefore they didn't have to ask the questions because the information was provided for them. It was a little bit unfortunate to see the turnout. There was a good turnout from council, which was nice. But from the neighborhoods, I would have liked to seen a better turnout. And so possibly in the future, maybe we do some last minute social media advertising, because as people are scrolling their Facebook, if it popped up saying, hey, join us now, maybe they would, as opposed to committing earlier in the week, as people are very busy. But I thought the turnout was great and the information was good. So thank you to everyone that participated in that.
Councillor Plott.
Thanks, Chair. I want to thank Arlen, you and your team for that. I thought there was a lot of good information. I think there was a lot of residents on the call. I thought it was good information, but I would echo Mayor Clayton's comments that it would have been nice to see a few more neighborhood association members and people in the community involved. But that might be the sign of the time that we are in. Who knows? But if we could do anything to try to get more people participating, I think it was great, because we did have a lot of council and administration there to explain a lot of questions, and I think the people that were on the call, it was well received. So appreciate you guys setting that up, and hopefully we can continue to get more momentum on it. Councillor
Thiessen, then O'Toole.
Thanks, Chair Bressy, and thank you, Arlen, for the feedback. I was going to actually give some too, but I got to agree with Councillor Clayton and Councillor Platt. I've been to the last 2 neighborhood association meeting, and the first one was very well attended. This most recent one, the information presented by staff was amazing. If there are people there to see it. My only concern with this one, and my battery ran out, so I had to leave early, so I'm not sure if there's any late joiners, but it seemed like we had more administration and council in the second neighborhood association meeting than we actually did neighborhood association participants. So like Councillor Clayton said, maybe last minute social media, maybe a share out amongst the memberships of each individual neighborhood association, or at least an urging to do that, might encourage more attendance, because the information provided by our staff was incredible and very informative. I just want to make sure that their time's also being used appropriately and wisely, and that we get the turnout so that information can be used appropriately.
Councillor O'Toole, I think I saw your hand up.
Yeah, thank you very much. As for the timing of the event, I think after supper was a great time, so nobody has the excuse of I have to work. I think the positives that have been said so far are exactly that, and I think during a process like this, we're learning as administration and as council members, but maybe it was just one of those days where there was a hockey game on or the weather wasn't great or somebody was sick. But as for the staff presenting, awesome. Thank you. So there's no faults there. It's just one of those things that timing maybe wasn't right for that particular meeting. And, there was probably some school parent-teacher interviews taking place as well. So don't think that you did anything wrong because we got a poor turnout. I think it's just one of those things that we got to take as a grain of salt.
I think I know that I went to those back before I was on council when I was a neighborhood association board member. And the part that I always appreciated about the most was I appreciated hearing from city staff, but was actually meeting other neighborhood associations and hearing what they were doing was the most valuable part to me. So that networking is hard when it's over Zoom, and I'm looking forward to when these are in person and that networking just kind of happens naturally. But if we do have to do another one over Zoom, I wonder if there might be a way to do some of that. At the very least, I think it would be great. It would be great to let neighborhood association representatives at least introduce themselves and share which neighborhood association they're from. But also maybe there's a way to have a neighborhood association that's doing something really great or has in the last year. Maybe ask them to present about what's been good about their projects, or maybe there's a way to do a breakout room for 10 minutes where people get to share what neighborhood association they're from and what they're working on as a neighborhood association with their peers. That's what I'd put a little bit of thought into if we have to meet online again, is how do we let them network? So I really do think that was the most valuable part to me when I was a neighborhood association board member. That being said, though, I really appreciate council and administration being there. And I think it really does communicate something important to them when our management's willing to sit and listen to them. And so I really do appreciate what staff's doing with it. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Dylan. Oh my gosh, I was going to get in the queue. I was like, oh, I got an idea. We need a little more share from the neighborhood association. So thank you so much, Mr. Chair, for bringing that up. Maybe that happens at the start of the program while we're acquainting ourselves and people are coming online. Just to give the chairs maybe their 2 to 5 minutes of time to present what they're doing and answer any questions and stuff like that. Because I think it's important to share the information, but sometimes people, they like to talk about their stuff. They don't necessarily just like to sit and listen and talk. And if a question comes up, they might ask it. But that dialoguing, that conversation, that networking is super important. So I really appreciate Councillor Bresty bringing that up. I do have a question not in regards, or comment not in regards to neighborhood associations or these meetings, if that's all right, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, please.
So Director Miller, recently I found out with the new easing of restrictions that the Valley View pool was taking private bookings for full swimming, lane swimming, family swim times, following social distancing protocols and in their maximums, minimums. It's good to hear that our Eastlink Center and our fitness and walking track are getting up and running, as well as swimming lessons. But at what point does the city feel comfortable to start up lane swimming again, or at least a river walk, or maybe a family booking time?
Go ahead, Mr. Miller.
Thanks, Chair Bresty. I know in talking to Ms. Redding, we've talked about trying to open it up as much as possible, and also address the needs of the users groups. So our user groups. So I'll talk to her about. I'm not sure when we're opening it up for public for the lane swimming or just public access, but I'll find out the information and I'll share it with council after the meeting. That's okay.
That'd be awesome. Thanks.
Any other questions? Great, Ms. Miller, did you get what you needed from us?
Yes, thank you very much. And Ms. Casual is on the line as well, and I'm sure she recorded all the good feedback from council, and then we'll certainly try to incorporate it into the next neighborhood association meeting. But thank you very much for the feedback, and thank you for the participation. I think the residents really appreciate having the time with council.
Great, thank you. So any other questions about the Director Service Area report? Great. Well, thank you, Mr. Miller. Then I'll move on to item 6.1, which is Community Services Bylaw Policy and Procedure Review, and that is Ms. Ridgway and Ms. Blaine.
Thank you, Chair Bressie. Hello, committee. So today we're continuing the review of the Community Services Policies and Procedures. I have Jody Boyne also on the line. She helped me prepare this report. So administration is requesting that committee recommends to council the approval of revisions to the policy 210, which is the Revolution Place operating mandate. Also approving the new policy 211, which is the Revolution Place alcohol management policy. And this will replace policy 5335, the Crystal Center alcohol management policy, which is very dated. We'd also like to see the approval of procedure 211-1 as it relates to policy 211. The changes made to policy 210 were basically administrative. They did not change the essence of the policy, simply a name change to Revolution Place. Policy 211 is centered around the alcohol management at Revolution Place, being the only venue within the city that has our own liquor license. Therefore, we needed our own policy outside of the other facilities. The new policy references the Alberta Gaming, Liquor and Cannabis Commission rules and regulations in regards to the sales of alcohol. These are the rules that we're mandated to follow to hold our license. So instead of changing our policy every time AGLC makes a change, we just reference back to the AGLC handbook and just highlighted some of the critical items in the policy. So I'm welcome to take any questions that you have on anything regarding the policy specifically, and Jody and I are happy to answer any questions you have.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any questions from committee? In that case, is anybody willing to make a motion? Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Bressie. I would move that committee recommend council approve the provisions to policy 210 being the Revolution Place operating mandate. I'm happy to separate the motions or do them all as one, whatever you prefer.
I think it's probably fine doing them all as one, and I don't see anybody objecting to that, so why don't we take them as one?
In addition, approve new policy 211 being the Revolution Place alcohol management policy. Item 3, replace procedure 211-1 for information. And item 4, repeal policy 5335 being the Crystal Center alcohol management policy.
Great. Any conversation or debate? In that case, I will call back to question. And that motion carries unanimously. So thank you, Ms. Ridgway and Ms. Boyne. We let you off easy today, I guess. I will move on to our outstanding items list. Director Miller.
Thanks, Chair Bressie. So just 2 items on the list still, and they're both on track to report. The first one on the end of April, and then the second one probably in April as well from Ms. Ridgway. So unless council or committee has any questions on the 2 items.
Councillor Platt.
Thanks, Chair Bressie. I'm just wondering on the event center business case, the expected report date is June 8th. Is that when we're going to actually, you had mentioned that it may be, is that when we're going to see the report, or are we potentially going to see the report sooner?
Thanks, Chair Bressie. Our plan is, in talking to Ms. Ridgway, we're working with finance as well, and we anticipate bringing it forward in April, in advance of the expected report date.
Okay, so the expected report, maybe I was misunderstanding. I thought the expected report date was when we're actually going to get the report from the consultant, but has it been RFP'd yet or anything? Through the chair.
So the plan with this report is actually to bring some details back to committee as to what we could do. And it's still subject to budget approval in the fall, the $200,000 to actually hire a consultant or to send it out to RFP. Is my understanding of what the intent is with the motion. So our report would recommend that it be deferred to budget, most likely, or at least we'll provide the information for council and committee to make that decision. Okay, if I can, Chair Bressie, I'm just a little confused because I was
under the impression we approved that at last budget last year. So I don't know if anybody from administration can speak to that. I thought this capital item was already approved in our 2021 capital budgets that we approved last November.
I see Mr. Burke or Mr. Miller. I'll let you guys figure out who's going to take that.
The $200,000 for the consultant was for 2022. That was the motion near the end of the committee meeting or the budget deliberations. So it was not for expenditures this year.
Okay, I'm going to have to go back. Well, I'm really confused about that. I thought the whole, and maybe I'm the only one saying this, I thought the whole point was to do that report to set up the next council to potentially make steps moving forward. If that's not the case, so be it. I'm a little bit confused because maybe I misunderstood the intent. I really thought that this was a report we were going to see this summer to fall, so the council could start framing it for next council's decision making. But maybe I must be recalling that incorrectly. I thought I made the motion actually, so I was pretty sure it was for 21, but I stand corrected if it wasn't for 21. I'm still confused on that. And I would actually ask if administration can maybe just send us the motion that was made on that, or I can go back and look at the report as well. I am a little bit confused about the timing on that one.
I think the motion that we passed is, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Burke, but in our outstanding items list, I think that is the motion that would have been passed by council, isn't it? And what I see in our oil list is committee direct administration to add up to $200,000 in capital funding for the 2022 budget.
I believe that's close. If not, we can pull the motion, and I'll identify the specific part of the video where that discussion happened. I know the original motion, if my recollection is correct, was for 2021, but by the end of debate, it had been pushed into 2022 for expenditure for this report.
So perhaps, I don't know if we need a motion for this or if we could just ask administration to do it, but Councillor Plott, perhaps where you might want to go from here is ask that an update on this get added to the next Community Services Committee, just updating what administration understands its direction from council was and giving us a chance to discuss that and potentially change that direction if we feel we need to.
No, I would appreciate that. And I guess, do we need a formal motion for that, administration, or is that something that's administration can bring back, I guess? Or is that something that Chair Bresky prefers to have a formal motion on that? Or?
I don't think we need it for. Well, actually, yeah. I guess we're not just asking to talk about it. We're asking to do some work in preparation. So yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think a formal motion would be better than not.
Okay. So I guess that the motion I'd make is if administration can circulate the motion that was made at the 2021 budget or 2020 budget deliberations, I think that would be a good starting point. And then bring that to the next standing committee, or they can send that via email. I'm fine with either. I need some further clarification on that because I'm pretty confused about that. And stand to be corrected if I'm wrong. I just was pretty confident this was supposed to be a 2021 item. Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out. I don't know if a motion for them to email us is kind of a funny one because the public wouldn't actually get to see that. So maybe the motion is, and I see Mayor Clayton, maybe she's got another idea, but just suggest for me is maybe direct administration to add the Event Center Arena business case to the next Community Services Committee meeting. And maybe the motion stays there, but administration knows that they've got some work to do before that is maybe where we go. But Mayor Clayton, I see a thumbs up from Mayor Clayton. Director Miller. Yeah, that's better wording. I'm sorry, I'm not great at wordsmithing on the fly, so that's much better wording. And I guess I'd ask administration if that's a realistic timeline to be looking at in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Director Miller.
Thanks, Chair Bresky. So with Ms. Ridgway, we've had several conversations about bringing a report forward just to share more information what we could do for the $200,000 in 2022. And I know Finance, I think, almost has some information to share with us as well. So it's very possible. I think next committee meeting we could have the report that we did intend on bringing forward, and we'll try to have all the information we have in that. My recollection is that it was for 2022 after the discussion as related by Mr. Burke as well. So.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I'm looking forward to seeing the actual motion, but my recollection was 2022 too, and that this year we were going to talk about what would that business case actually look like and what would we actually want to study in it. So the next council can decide whether or not they want to commission that business case. So for what it's worth, that's my recollection too, but I look forward to seeing the actual motion and all that. So I think that the motion you were hoping to make was direct administration to add this to the next community services meeting. Is that a motion you're making, Councillor Platt? Great. I'll just ask our recording secretary if that, well, I'll call the question and then we get to see on our iPad now if it's the motion we like. So I will call that motion to question. And that motion carries. Great, thank you. And then I also think that I'm looking to Director Miller again. Do we need to, what do we do with this item on the oil list before we accept the oil list now?
Thanks, Chair Rusty. I think it could just remain as is, and I'll meet with Ms. Ridgway later on today, and then we'll see if we can have the report ready. But we'll bring something in 2 weeks for sure, and then we might amend this one at that time if we have to. Great, awesome. Well, could I get a motion for the oil list, Councillor Platt?
Thanks, Chair Bessie. Yeah, I make a motion to accept the set of items list, and I appreciate that, Director Miller.
Great. I'll just point out that sometimes it just feels like we're rubber stamped this oil list, but this is exactly why we talk about the oil list every time, so we can have these conversations. So thanks for flagging it, Councillor Platt. And I will call that motion to question. And that motion carries. So with that, I will call the meeting adjourned. And I know we need a short break, but I believe it's Protective and Social Services up next.